Hello, Durud and Shalom. Hi, guys. So, I told you so. We knew this is going to happen. We knew this is going to happen. Hey, guys, can you somebody get Trump on the line with me? Because he's too optimistic. I need to talk to him. I need to tell him I knew this is going to happen before he did. Because, I mean, is anybody in the chat surprised? Is anybody in the chat surprised that this is happening? Anybody that understands Hamas, and not just Hamas, this whole situation in Gaza, knew that this is going to happen. Let's just get right into it. Let's just see what happens.
A Fox News alert.
By the way, guys, make sure you like the stream. I see people are in the chat. Sam is here. Nail Bunny is here. And other people are here. Oh, Sarah is saying, how do I do more bigger super chat? So when you do super chat, there's a lot. If you want to increase it, there's a bar. There's a thing that you could actually drag, and it will increase it. Thank you, guys. And yeah, Jewish Samantha is here. Sarah is here. All right, let's just thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to like the stream, and let's just jump right into it.
A Fox News alert right now. Israel on the defense with airstrikes over Gaza after Hamas terrorists attacked Israeli troops in a clear violation of the ceasefire. Our next guest knows firsthand the threat Israel faces from Hamas. Benjamin Anthony served with the IDF in Gaza.
Yeah, I can see that none of you, Sam is saying not surprised. Anyone else surprised that this happened?
Knows firsthand the threat Israel faces from Hamas. Benjamin Anthony served with the IDF in Gaza after the October 7th attacks. He joins us now live from Israel. And Benjamin, just moments ago, we received a statement from the IDF confirming that they have begun striking Hamas positions in southern Gaza and the Rafah area. And they add to the statement, quote, these terrorist actions.
Get back in there, boys. Get back in there. Get back in there. Finish the job. They have no more leverage over you. It's Hamas season. No more hostages. There are no more hostages. Just go all in and wipe these motherfuckers out. And not just Hamas, those other groups as well. Fuck them up. There's nothing in front of you. There are no hostages that you need to be worried about. So just do your job now. Get it back in there.
Constitute a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement.
Yes, I'm saying it was just a question of when and how, not if. Yeah, but also it happened very fast, as we expected. Like, it didn't last long.
Quote, these terrorist actions constitute a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement, and the IDF will respond firmly. Your reaction?
Thank you. Thank you for your
first of all,
service.
Griff, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you. And of course, the Israel Defense Forces must respond, and it will respond forcefully and appropriately. And as we speak, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense, and the senior branch of the security establishments in Israel is convening to talk about what that response may be. But it's important.
Jackie's saying there are Gazan civilians who need to be protected. The best way to protect Gazan civilians is to get rid of Hamas and every other Islamic militant groups out in Gaza. If the sooner, guys, when you are trying to destroy a tumor, the only methods that we have are ways that hurts your body, right? Like it's like chemotherapy. Your body is going to get hurt. Other Gazans going to get hurt, but you need to go in there and remove the tumor. Destroying Hamas is not just for the sake of Israelis, it's also for the sake of Gaza.
Establishments in Israel is convening to talk about what that response may be, but it's important for your viewers to know that.
Yeah, and also somebody saying, did Hamas break the ceasefire again today, like yesterday? Yes, they have already violated it multiple times, but this one is such a violation that is undeniable. Like the other ones, people could be like, well, we could actually like I didn't see. These ones are the ones that like, okay, you cannot not see this.
This is, as you said, an absolute clear-cut, blatant breaching of the ceasefire arrangement at a very delicate time. We've got Vice President J.D. Vance scheduled to arrive in the area to make sure that the second phase of this deal actually goes through. So there is the international relations, diplomatic aspect of this, as well as the military aspect that the Prime Minister and his team are having to conjure with. And it's also important to know that the Israel Defense Forces withdrew, as agreed, under the agreement that was brokered by President Trump and his team, to what is referred to as the yellow line. It's not actually the yellow line. There have been some adjustments, but that is where we are. And Hamas operatives crossed that line in the area of Jabalia, in addition to what they attempted in Rafah.
Okay, so Israel has abided by all the terms of the deal, every single one of them. So I hope Trump doesn't come blame Israel at this. Israel has been abiding by everything that they had to. Everything that they had to.
That shows that there is no honor among this terrorist organization.
And guys, what did I tell you? I told you that within Hamas, within Gaza, there's so much internal conflict that even if there were some Hamas leaders that were like, guys, we are fucked, we need to abide by these terms or else they will fuck us up. The thing is that there's so much chaos there that you have no control over your boys. You have no control over your boys. Like, somebody at some point is going to shoot something that is going to be a violation. So this is why the only way to solve this is to go in and clean the mess, because Hamas can't even clean up its own mess, even if it wanted to, because it has no control over the area.
Known as Hamas, they breached the ceasefire.
Yeah, and Benjamin, we were just showing our viewers that yellow line you're talking about. This is the yellow line that the IDF agreed to withdraw to. The Rafah area is down there in the southern.
That line is orange, not yellow. Thank you.
Line that the IDF agreed to withdraw to. The Rafah area is down there in the southern part of Gaza. And what the IDF is saying is that anti-tank missiles and gunfire were shot at IDF troops across that line, which is why the IDF says it's a clear violation. My question to you, Benjamin, is, are you surprised that they violate this ceasefire?
No, I'm not surprised at all, and I doubt that your viewers are surprised. I was walking around the streets here in Israel.
Nobody's surprised. Trump seems. I don't know why Trump was confident that this will work. I mean, even people who are not analysts, who have been following this, like every single detail of this, are not surprised. So I don't know. Like, somebody explained the confidence that Trump had that this is going to work. Somebody explain that.
When the hostages were returned to as the living hostages. And one might have expected that there would have been celebration and ebullience and happiness. And there was that with regard to the return of the hostages, but yet there was a skepticism, a lack of optimism, and dare I say it, a pervasive uncertainty, because we know that this terror organization has sinister motives at the core of everything it does. And just to clarify this, think about who it is that we have fought to bring home. It's our innocent hostages, our men, women, children, infants, even Holocaust survivors, even our soldiers who were kidnapped on October 7th were in defensive posture. Who does Hamas want? Psychopathic murderers of the worst kind, and they want them out of Israeli prisons and in their society.
Guys, I heard Hamas, one of the prisoners who were released by Israel, Hamas just executed one of them. I need to go look into this if this is true, but that would be very interesting if they did that, because it makes me wonder, did Hamas like insist on that person to be released because I think he was part of Fatah? Did Hamas just ask for that person to be released so that they could execute him? Like, he's safe in your prison. Can you bring him? Can you please give him to us so that we could execute him?
Benjamin, just in the last 30 seconds I've got, we still have 16 deceased hostages whose remains we are hoping will be returned. Does this now make it more difficult to get those deceased hostages' bodies?
Well, then we've seen Hamas revert to the drip feeding of our dead, which is what it's in the midst of doing to us. It's poisoning the atmosphere here in Israel for obvious reasons. Of course, the consideration of how we bring back our deceased hostages will be central to the weights that the Prime Minister is giving to various responses. But we are attacking from the air. There will be a response, and it will be an appropriate response. We cannot accept these sorts of breaches, nor would the Israeli people tolerate it, nor would any people tolerate it.
And we will continue to follow this story very closely.
Okay, people are now talking about going back to the ceasefire. I don't like, this is so bizarre. Like, the ceasefire has been violated, and now there's so much pressure on Israel. Like, okay, let's go back to the ceasefire. Like, so how is this fair to Israel? You have it. You have the terms there. Israel is abiding. Hamas gets to violate it, and they're like, okay, the violation is over. Let's get back to the ceasefire. So basically, the ceasefire is only holding Israel back. Hamas gets to violate it, and then we put pressure on Israel to go back to resuming the ceasefire. So the ceasefire only puts limitations on Israel, apparently.
Closely. Benjamin Anthony, thank you for taking time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
All right, hold on. Let's go to this one. Let's see what's happening here.
This big peace deal is to end the war that started on October 7th, 2 years ago. Breaking news, 2 years later, one of the alleged attackers was arrested in, of all places, Louisiana. We have Louisiana's own House Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker Johnson, did you have any idea that Louisiana could be harboring a Hamas attacker?
I had no idea. It's alarming to all of us, but I'm certainly glad that we have an administration who is prioritizing rounding up these dangerous people, and it's a great relief to a lot of folks down there.
This suspected terrorist was not secretly involved with terror groups. He was posting about terror groups on his social media, but nobody here in the U.S. looked, and he got a visa after the October 7th attacks. How many terrorists got in?
What the fuck?
Ballpark, under the Biden administration, because nobody checked their social media.
No.
Wait, you got a visa to go to United States after October 7th, even though on social media you were posting in support of terrorism? Okay. You know, guys, when I was a kid in Iran, I thought getting into America is like, it's the most difficult thing anybody could ever do. And to this day, I'm still surprised how easy it is for terrorists to get into America.
Oh, it's a very important question, and a problem that we were pointing out during the 4 years of the Biden nightmare. They had a wide open border. As many as, by some estimates, 20 million illegal aliens came across that border, and many of them obviously not intending good things for our country. So we know that terrorists got across the border, and I don't think anybody on planet Earth can discern exactly how many will be living with the threat and the ramifications of that open border, probably for the rest of our lives, Peter. But I'm grateful again for an administration that is prioritizing the removal of dangerous people. ICE is out. They've targeted and they've gone after him.
Yeah, by the way, you know how I sometimes criticize Trump? Sometimes I praise him. This whole fighting illegal immigration thing that Trump is doing, completely support that. 100% support that. So some people think, like, when you come here and sometimes you hear me criticize Trump, like for example, for being so friendly with the Qataris, or now Turkey, Erdogan, or stuff like that, or doing appeasement with the Islamic Republic, I criticize him. Sometimes some people in the chat who are new here think that I have Trump derangement syndrome. And they're new here and they don't know that, no, Trump has done other things that I praise. He does things that I don't like, and he does things that I like. For example, when Trump killed Qasem Soleimani, that in my eyes, that was the best thing he has ever done. This whole fighting back against illegal immigration in the U.S., one of the best things that Trump has ever done.
Prioritize the dangerous, hardened criminal elements that are out there, and of course, terrorists. And this is the latest example, another exhibit that elections really do have consequences. And President Trump is back in charge, and the American people, by the way, made that the #1 issue in the election last November. So we're following through on those promises.
Overnight, there was some new fighting in Gaza. It sounds like Hamas.
So somebody in the chat is saying AIPAC is paying this moron. Not yet, but I would be happy to accept that. Daniel, do you have any connections? My email is here. If you know anybody in AIPAC that is willing to pay for, I'm doing a really good job defending Israel. So if you think that, thank you for the advertisement. You're looking at my work and you're saying, like, oh, this Armin is doing such a great job, he must be getting paid. Well, if you think that my work is so good, that's my email. Get somebody from AIPAC to email me. I would accept their money. No worries at all.
Violated the ceasefire, and Israel responded. It's a very delicate ceasefire. President Trump wants Hamas to disarm. Why aren't they disarming?
I wish we could answer that question. The entire world is prevailing upon Hamas to put the weapons down and stop the onslaught. They are the ones impeding the progress there. This everlasting peace that President Trump says that we are on the verge of achieving, but you have to have willing partners on the other side. Hamas has proven over and over they cannot be trusted. They obviously have a murderous, dangerous ideology. Their sole purpose is to exterminate Israel and Jews and Americans, by the way. And the only way for the people of Gaza to have peace is for the bad guys to stop doing this. They agreed, we thought, to do it. So we'll have to see how this plays out in the coming hours and days.
And we have a new clip of the president's closers with this peace deal. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff talking about how it sounds like Israel almost blew the whole peace process by targeting Hamas inside Qatar because Qatar.
Bullshit. This is the part that I'm going to be anti the Trump team. When you have a peace deal, so-called peace deal, only because Israel weakened Hamas to the point that they're begging for their lives. What the fuck are you talking about? You're the people that showed up at the end to take all the credit. It was the IDF that did all the hard work. It was the IDF soldiers that bled for getting us to the point where not just Hamas, but Hezbollah and IRGC are so pathetically weak for Hamas to be forced to release the hostages because they have nothing. Like they understood that they were no more moves. They had nothing else to play. They were forced by the IDF to release the hostages. You guys were just here. You guys showed up to actually finish to actually get in the way because you actually made this happen sooner than Hamas would be more desperate and would be giving up even more if you gave Israel the opportunity to beat them up a bit more. But this is all thanks to the IDF. I mean, I'm not saying the United States doesn't have any input, okay? But most of the credit goes to the IDF. The hostages are free because of the IDF.
Was almost blew. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff talking about how it sounds like Israel almost blew the whole peace process by targeting Hamas inside Qatar because Qatar was the key middleman. Listen to this.
Fucking bullshit. If the Qatar attack didn't happen, the hostages would not be free right now. The attack on Hamas in Qatar is the reason why the hostages are free. Because Hamas realized that, holy shit, these people have no chill. They will come for us wherever we are. They're like, oh my God, US, please come save us. We are fucked. We thought we're safe in Qatar. We're not. And Qatar was like pissing his pants. They're like, oh my God, somebody stop this. I never imagined Israel attacking here. Everybody was like, how do we make Israel chill? US, come save us. The attack in Qatar is the reason why the hostages are free. We're like, oh, this deal wouldn't have happened if the Qatar... Guys, the deal came exactly after the attack in Qatar. That is not a coincidence. Like, oh, they were negotiating a peace deal. They were negotiating a peace deal for 2 fucking years. Why is it that right after the Qatari attack, they were like, oh, fuck, here's your hostages? Like, what happened after the attack in Qatar, the Qataris could have done this for 2 fucking years. And they didn't do that because they weren't scared enough. Israel scared the bejesus out of them. They got them scared enough to give in to releasing the hostages. This was a good cop, bad cop play between Israel and United States. United States came in and like, oh my God, look at what Israel is doing. You want me to save you? Here's what you do. Get them to release all the hostages. Okay, so it's the bad cop element of Israel that made the United States able to pressure the Qataris, to pressure Hamas to release the hostages. Like, oh, they were negotiating. Oh, yeah. Like, did that work out for you?
Targeting Hamas inside Qatar because Qatar was the key middleman. Listen to this.
Now, I had heard that the president, that he was furious.
I think he felt like the Israelis.
You are in no position to be furious. You should be thankful to Israel. Israel is killing your enemies. Israeli soldiers are paying the heaviest price to do your work for you. Your soldiers are not fighting in the battlefield because Israeli soldiers are. You are in no position to be furious of Israel. Israelis are in a position to be furious of you because you're no-show. You're not in the battlefield. It's not your people fighting. Israel is fighting your wars for you. You're so ungrateful. You're in no position unless all of this is a show for playing good cop, bad cop. But I'm gonna just respond to what I see. And what I see is that you're saying that you're furious of Israel. So fuck you.
Furious.
I think he felt like the Israelis were getting a little bit out of control in what they were doing, and that it was time to be very strong and stop them from doing things that he felt were not in their long-term interests.
And so,
stop them. Who the fuck do you think you are? Israel is an independent nation state, and it needs to do what it needs to do to defend its border integrity and the safety of its citizens. So fuck off and be grateful, because Israel has done more than protecting its own citizens. Israel has protected your citizens as well.
based on that, Speaker Johnson, can President Trump trust the Israelis to follow through now?
Oh, I think so. I mean, what you're seeing play out on the world stage is a return of peace through strength. Sorry, and President Trump is the one that has brought that back, and he's able and willing to have strong conversations, not with just
peace. Do you guys know what peace through strength means? Peace through strength means no appeasement, no negotiating with terrorists. Peace through strength is not just something you say. Peace through strength is demonstrated through military victories. You demonstrate to the people that threaten you that I do not talk to you. Okay? I eliminate you. The people I talk to is everybody else observing what just happened to anybody who threatened my citizens. You are not worthy of talking to. You killed my citizens. You die. You kill my citizens, you die. The message is not to you. The message is to other people to witness what happens to people who dare threaten my citizens. That's what peace through strength means. So let Israel do what it does best and get out of its fucking way.
with our adversaries, but with our friends as well. And he speaks directly, and he spoke directly to Prime Minister Netanyahu. They have a long relationship and one of trust. And he told him enough is enough. And I think that was a precipitating factor in getting us to this incredible point that we are now, a truly historic peace deal that just by sheer force of his personality, President Trump was able to push through. And I think he...
It wasn't his personality. It was the IDF's military capability. It's the Qataris and Hamas leaders shitting their pants when they saw that there are no red lines for Israel when it comes to attacking the people who attack Israel. It wasn't the charisma of Trump. It was Israeli missiles.
Greatly deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. In fact, Speaker
I mean, give him a Nobel Peace Prize. Give him a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm okay with that. As long as it encourages him to keep supporting Israel. I don't know. I think Trump is giving up on this whole being a president of peace. He now says that he wants to invade Venezuela, and he has said that he thinks Venezuela is part of America. So, I mean, I like him better that way. Honestly, I hope the way that he's looking at Venezuela right now, I hope that he has the same attitude when it comes to Hamas and the Islamic Republic in Iran, right? Maybe instead of like giving him a Nobel Peace Prize, maybe we could give him a war prize, being a best president at war. Maybe let's if he gives up on this whole peace thing, maybe he will focus on actually trying to eliminate people who are the enemies of Israel and United States, hopefully.
Push through. And I think he greatly deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. In fact, Speaker Ohana of the Knesset and I have joined forces to try to collect as many signatures as we can from other speakers and leaders of parliaments around the free world to join us in co-nominating President Trump for the next Nobel Peace Prize. There's no...
Yeah, you know, the type of peace that we want is the peace that, not the type of peace that came after World War One, that was basically just signing papers and peace treaties and shit like that, which you could see that didn't hold. We want peace that comes after something like World War II, where you crush your enemy to the point that they cannot fight. And you could see that the peace that came after World War II was much more long-lasting than the peace that came after World War One, which was just a whole bunch of agreements, signing papers. That doesn't last long. Okay, and Israel knows this because Israel has also long-lasting peace with Egypt and Jordan, and Israel achieved those long-lasting peace with those countries by decimating their ability to fight Israel, not by just agreements and appeasement and shit like that. Oh, guys, we got our first super chat. Thank you so much, Spooky Sean. Guys, by the way, if we get to 10 super chats, I will stay longer and respond to the chat. So thank you for the super chats. That's our goal. Let's see if we can get there today. Spooky Shana saying they gave the peace prize to someone else, so he doesn't care anymore. The Venezuelan winner dedicated her prize to him. Yes, I saw that. So I hope that he doesn't care anymore, so that he could go fuck up these terrorists. I hope he doesn't care. Thank you.
One's more deserving than that.
And there was some more breaking news this weekend. George Santos got sprung by the president 2 years ago. You let the House, Speaker Johnson, have a vote of conscience.
No, I don't want to talk about something else. I want to talk about Gaza. Stop. Yeah, let's go back to Gaza. Let's see what this is.
This live look right here. This is over Khan Yunis there in Gaza. As you can see, they are doing some work to clean up some of the rubble as the war has winded down, at least for now. Now, President Trump has also issued a strong warning to the Hamas terror group: stop the killing or be killed. That is
okay. That's the Trump I like. That's the Trump I like. I hope you this time you don't blame Israel, Mr. Trump. I hope you don't blame Israel, because they're clearly killing each other and they're attacking Israel. And guys, what are the like, Mr. Trump? I know you watch my show, okay? But kidding, guys. I'm not delusional. Okay, so Mr. Trump, let me tell you something about Hamas. The chances of these people, okay? I know these people, okay? I'm Iranian. I was brainwashed at some point by their ideology. The chance, and again, it's so much worse than in Gaza than it is in Iran. The chances of these people in Hamas to one day come like, hey guys, maybe we should not kill Jews. Maybe we should stop being Islamic terrorists. Maybe we should stop the war against Israel. How about that? So we're like, but why? They're like, because we're tired of war. We want peace. We want prosperity. Let's just have peace. Okay? You know what happens? They're going to kill those two motherfuckers that said that. These people have been, it's in their DNA now. These motherfuckers have completely given up their agency. They're like fucking robots. They have been brainwashed since childhood. They know nothing else. They don't know any other way of living. This is so ingrained in their mind. These people live in a different world. They live in a parallel universe. They don't live based on our standards, or they don't want the things that we want. Martyrdom, killing Jews, killing Kafirs, Islamic values. There is no separating these people from this. You cannot be like, hey guys, stop your ways or I will come fuck you up. There is no other way. They have no other way. This is it. The only thing you could do with these people is eliminate them. You have no other option. They're not going to all of a sudden become wise and see the world in a different way. There is no hope for these people. This ideology has been ingrained in their mind from day zero. And I say zero intentionally because they say the shahadatain or azan in their ears as soon as they are born.
As the Gaza residents have said that many of them, several folks, have been executed there publicly by Hamas in Gaza over the days since that ceasefire took effect. Now, we also know that there are reports that Hamas has refused to disarm. So that's part of the deal here, is that they would throw out their arms. They would be done.
I mean, does Trump not understand that Hamas cannot even disarm, even if it wanted to? Trump, do you know that in Gaza there are so many other Islamic groups other than Hamas that would love to kill Hamas as soon as they get the chance because they're even more radical than Hamas? Did you know that? Did you know that, Mr. Trump? So even if Hamas wanted to disarm, they can't disarm because that would be their last day. If Hamas disarms, they would be publicly executed in Gaza by these other groups, by these other Islamic groups. Like, how do you guys not know this?
Here, but that does not appear to be the case. I do want to bring in Jonathan Schanzer. He is the executive director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us here.
Oh, wait, is this guy from Foundation from Democracies, like that FDD?
Democracies. He is the executive director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies.
Yes, FDD, Foundation for Defense of Democracy. That's actually a really good organization. They have the correct position when it comes to Iran. The FDD is an organization that supports Prince Reza Pahlavi. So I'm already leaning positively towards this guy right now.
Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us here.
My pleasure.
All right, so Hamas has said, essentially, according to reports there, they are not going to lay down their weapons and say, we're disarmed, that's it. We're not going to leave Gaza. Your thoughts overall, is that a non-negotiable for Israel?
It is a non-negotiable, but it's also a non-negotiable for Hamas, and I think we knew that going into this. The Israelis want Hamas.
We knew that. We know that. You know who didn't? Trump. Trump didn't know. Oh, by the way, Jack just said, congratulations for reaching 77,000 subscribers during the stream. Well, thank you. Guys, make sure you subscribe if you're new here. Thank you for noticing, Jack.
Hamas defeated. Hamas wants to survive, and that is their metric for victory at the end of this 2-year war. They want to be able to show the world that they were able to fight Israel for 2 years and emerge not quite unscathed because they are truly defeated in a military sense, but their mere survival is their metric for success.
Yeah, this is the Islamic Republic ideology as well, okay? So you come and beat them up. You know the Monty Python skit where it says this is nothing but a scratch, where there's two knights are fighting and one of them comes and cuts his right hand arm and left hand arm and then both of his legs and like, come fight me. Yeah, it's nothing. It's but a scratch, right? This is the ideology of the Islamic Republic and Hamas and Hezbollah. They're like, if we are alive, that means we won. Like the other side could basically win in every single battle. As long as there's a single one of them still breathing, they're like, we won the fight, obviously, because we're still here. So it's basically like two people. Like, imagine if a tiny guy goes to a bigger guy and like, come fight me, motherfucker. You're not fighting me? You're a coward? Are you a coward? And you're like, you say like, are you sure? They're like, yeah, come fight me. I'll beat you up. And then you get up and then you beat the living shit out of him. And you basically knock out all of his teeth, break every single bone in his body. And then he becomes paralyzed. And he's basically in a pool of blood. And then he looks at you like, ha, I won. I'm like, how? How did you win? I'm like, because I'm not dead. I won this fight because I am still alive. I'm like, well, motherfucker, well, I'm still alive too. Like, how does that make you the winner and not me? Okay, but that's our ideology. Hamas was like, we're still alive, so we won the fight.
So now this is a test of wills, Josh. They are going to try to defy the president of the United States. They're going to try.
Did you guys like that analogy? That perfectly explains what's happening.
They are going to try to defy the president of the United States. They're going to try to defy Israel, which is the strongest military power in the region. The question in my mind right now is whether the Arab world leans on them the way they should. But I think more importantly, whether the Europeans and all these other countries that were calling for a ceasefire, calling for an end of the war, Trump has negotiated the best terms that one could possibly imagine for an end of the war. And now Hamas is refusing to lay down its arms. In fact, if anything, we're seeing them get more aggressive as they kill many of their own in the Gaza Strip. They're still holding 18 slain hostages and refusing to hand them over in an orderly fashion. So this is a standoff, and we're waiting to see how Donald Trump and how Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, how both of these men respond.
And we talk.
You should respond by getting the fuck inside and fuck these people up. Like, what? There is no other response. The deal has been violated. You have all the excuse needed to go in. Guys, there's two things that just happened. The terms have been violated and they have no hostages. They have no leverage. You have all the excuses you need and they have nothing else to use as a leverage against you. Why are you not inside Gaza completely, the areas that you evacuated? Why are you not back in and fucking these people up? Go back in. Start the war until there is no Hamas ruling over Gaza. By the way, somebody in the chat said something and say, can you support Palestine without supporting Hamas? No, because what is Palestine? Palestine is a terroristic movement. Palestine is not a country. That place is called Gaza. Palestine, the Palestinian name, the Palestinian flag, and the Palestinian cause is a name of a terroristic movement. Okay? If you want us to support the people in Gaza, you know, maybe the children and other people who are innocent, then call them the people of Gaza. The name Palestine refers to a terroristic movement. So no, we do not support Palestine. Fuck Palestine.
Talked a little bit about the public executions you just mentioned, and I talked about it kind of leading in. But what do we know about that situation overall? Because as we mentioned, days ago, they started these public execution of the...
Yeah, guys, actually, when people say free Palestine, no, free Gaza. Don't free Palestine. Free Gaza from Palestine. Free Gaza from the Palestinian cause. So that's the response to free Palestine. Don't free Palestine, free Gaza from Palestine.
Overall, because as we mentioned, days ago, they started these public execution of the Gaza civilians there in Gaza.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, Hamas has been around since 1988, okay? This is an organization that slowly but surely took over the Gaza Strip, and they did so with brutality. In 1988, it was the first intifada, as they called it, and they were killing what they called collaborators. Now, after that, then we saw the second intifada break out, and that was additional killing of Palestinians who were
Yeah, the second intifada, after we had like the Oslo Accord, and everybody thought like, guys, how many times do you have to try this? Like, you know, some Israelis are like, guys, you know, this might be it. This might be it. We might have peace. Like, study your own history. You have been here before. The second intifada was proof enough. The second intifada, the evacuation of Gaza. Every single time that you tried to do a peace deal with the so-called Palestinians, they became more aggressive. They became more radical. They fought even harder. Like, why can't you learn from your history? You got peace with Egypt and Jordan because you fucked up their military. They bent the knee. They surrendered. But every time you did the Oslo Accord, every time you evacuated Gaza, that backfired. You rewarded their terrorism. They became more radical. This, you should know by just studying your own history, that the road to peace is built on is paved on a mountain of your dead enemies. That's how you get there. You build peace with the bodies of your dead enemies. That's how you build peace. Okay? There's no other way.
Seem to be collaborators. Then there was the civil war that broke out between the PLO and Hamas in 2006 and 2007. And guess what? Hamas started killing Palestinians again. Anyone that would oppose Hamas, they opposed them, not just politically, began killing them on the streets. This has been a theme, right? Every time that Hamas and Israel have gone to war, 2008, 2012, 2014, 2021, in each case, after the war, they began killing people on the streets suspected of working with Israel or providing assistance to Israel. They're doing it again now, but really what they're trying to do, I think, more broadly, is not just kill their opponents, but to demonstrate that they're still this brutal terrorist organization that is going to run Gaza at the point of a gun. The question, to my mind right now, is whether there is anyone that is willing to stand up to Hamas as this process plays out in Gaza.
Yeah, there are other people who are willing to stand up to Hamas in Gaza, and the most successful ones are more radical than Hamas. So, yeah, they are. And they consider Hamas to be too nationalistic. Instead of wanting a caliphate, they're anti-Palestine, the Palestinian cause, because they think Palestine as a country is fucking bullshit. Because the concept of a nation state like Palestine is bid'ah, is un-Islamic, is Western. Like, we Muslims shouldn't be asking for a fucking nation state. We should be asking for dominating the entire world. That's why they're more like ISIS, right? The other groups who are actually more successful against Hamas, they're more radical than Hamas because they think Hamas is too Western. Because Hamas is looking for, like, says at least, they're not actually, but they pretend that they are for the concept of a nation state called Palestine, and the concept of a nation state is a Western concept. I don't know. We're not looking for Palestine. We don't want fucking Palestine. We want a caliphate. We want an Islamic caliphate, a global Islamic caliphate. So they're like, fuck these Hamas people. They're too Western, right? They're too modern. That's the group that is winning. That's the only group that is powerful enough to stand up against Hamas in Gaza. That's what we're dealing with, guys.
Willing to stand up to Hamas as this process plays out in Gaza.
This ceasefire, no question, is very fragile at this point. Do you see this as the potential end to the war, or are what we're seeing here, the issues that we're seeing with Hamas and those public executions, and them really not returning the bodies of all of the hostages? As you mentioned, 18 of the 28 not returned at this point. Is this really kind of headed toward the end of the war?
I don't know, guys. For me, the return of I understand for Israelis that the bodies are very important, so that's why I care about it. But I think the main issue that we need to be worried about more when it comes to this deal is Hamas not disarming. I mean, that is more important.
Not returned at this.
And also not giving up rule over Gaza. Can anybody ever imagine this? Hamas would be like, okay, fine. Here's our guns. And we're not going to rule over Gaza. Can anybody imagine how, like, anybody that understands it just tiny little bit of what Hamas is? Can you just imagine that happening in our, I'm not talking about parallel universes. I'm talking about this universe that we live in. In this universe that we live in, Hamas were like, here's our guns, and we're not going to rule over Gaza. Let somebody else do it. And if you cannot imagine that, then ask yourself, then how do we get there? The only way is war. The only way would be war if you cannot imagine Hamas going out willingly.
Point. Is this really kind of headed toward the end of the war, or is that not the way it's appearing?
Look, this is the crossroads where we sit right now. This thing could go well or it could go horribly. And, I think there's a lot of presidential investment here. There's a lot of world attention. What we want to see is Hamas lay down its arms, return those hostages, and allow for the rebuilding of Gaza in an order.
Yo, Hamas is like one day, like, okay, guys, let's just forget about this Islamic agenda and dreams of martyrdom and killing Jews. How about we just care about our own people? What about our people? Like, I know until yesterday, we didn't give a shit about that. And we actually think that our own people dying is an investment. But I just had an epiphany. I just see the way now. Guys, my brothers, we were wrong all this time. Let's now think about, let's stop fighting. Let's build Gaza for the sake of our children and the future generation of people in Gaza. Mr. Trump has made me see the way. Okay, sure. That's going to happen, guys. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Early fashion with a new government. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is they don't return the hostages. They continue to murder people on the streets. They reassert control of the Gaza Strip. Now, that's sort of the binary, right? There's one other path that I'm watching.
Oh, wait. Hey, guys, Goldie is here. Goldie. Hi. Goldie Ramari, guys. Go make sure you go subscribe to her channel. Goldie Ramari. Oh, let me highlight her comments so you can see how to spell her channel name. Guys, she's an Iranian Canadian, and she's fighting against Islamic takeover in Canada and in the West as a whole. And she's a great friend of Tommy Robinson. And she actually used to be a politician in Canada until she lost her job because she was a friend of Tommy. So go support her YouTube channel, search for her YouTube channel, Goldie Ramari, and go support her because she's doing amazing work. And thank you for honoring us by being here.
That I think that's sort of the binary, right? There's one other path that I'm watching that I think we need to keep an eye on, and that is that there could be some kind of a civil conflict, internecine war that breaks out in the Gaza Strip because pockets of control, right, vary from different parts of Gaza from one to the next. Khan Yunis, Rafah, Jabalia, Gaza City, different parts of Gaza City are controlled by different factions.
So if we know this, then how the fuck are we going to have a peace agreement with them? When there's like, if you do a peace agreement with Hamas, like let's just imagine this is not going to happen. That Hamas one day is like, okay, fuck it. We're going to change our ways. We're going to do peace with Israel, and we're going to give up our control over Gaza. Even in La La Land, in an imaginary world that happens, which is not going to happen. But let's just think about the best case scenario. Okay. Then these other groups are like, oh, really? Hamas is not going to fight. Hamas has been disarmed. Well, let's go fucking kill every single Hamas leader, and we're now in control of Gaza. Like, you're not even just dealing with Hamas. Like, oh, peace with Hamas, which is not going to happen. But if it did happen, peace with Hamas doesn't mean peace with Gaza. There's so many other groups that are waiting for Hamas to just go away so that they could take control over the fight over this whole project, the Palestinian cause, or fighting against Israel, or not the Palestinian cause, because some of them are more like ISIS, so they don't believe in the Palestinian cause. But you know what I'm saying? Like you have this imaginary deal that you're trying to get. You have to do it with Hamas, and then the next group, 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 and then every single one of those jihadi groups in Gaza. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Let's see how that works out for you. Guys, there is no other way. The only way is for IDF to go into Gaza and do a cleanup job. That's the only way. And then stay there and never leave Gaza. Because if you leave Gaza, this whole shit will happen all over again. The only solution is for Gaza to become Israel. There is no other way. There is no other way.
Some related to Hamas, some maybe related to the Islamic Jihad, some related to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, some controlled by clans or families or tribes that are trying to wrest control of their areas from Hamas or other armed groups. There's a lot of chaos. This is what happens as war drags on. It's hard to know who controls what. There is that third option, but I got to tell you, we need to be pushing towards the Trump option, the process that he put in place that should lead to the disarming of Hamas and the rebuilding.
That's a dream. No, the only option is the Bibi option, the Netanyahu option. And guys, the part of this plan is to bring an international military group of Egyptian and Indonesians and I don't know, Emiratis, maybe, I don't know who, in Gaza to control Gaza instead of the IDF. How do you think that's going to work out for you guys? How do you think, like, can you guys even imagine if we have Indonesian and Egyptian soldiers in Gaza trying to do what IDF was doing against Hamas and these other jihadi groups? How successful do you think they're going to be? How advanced are these soldiers and how trained are they compared to the IDF? And again, guys, remember, they have to do it without killing any of Gazan civilians, because if we have an Egyptian Indonesian army in Gaza fighting Hamas, then if they end up killing more civilians in the process than the IDF, then that would be holy shit. The whole world would be like, okay, apparently it's not that easy to kill Hamas without killing civilians. Because I would bet you that there's either your soldiers have to die more, okay, because if you're trying to avoid every single civilian while you're killing Hamas, then that means that your soldiers are going to die more. Or more civilians have to die compared to the IDF, what IDF does in Gaza. And then the whole world has to see, like, oh, I mean, the world would not admit that because the world is too anti-Semitic. But the world, if the world understood this, the world would be like, oh my God. So this is not IDF fault. This is just the nature of war inside Gaza. I mean, I want to come and try. I dare you. Come and try fighting Hamas in Gaza. And people are like, well, I heard somebody say, like, well, Hamas is not going to kill. You know, before this deal was this ceasefire happened, some people were saying, well, Hamas is not going to kill Egyptian soldiers. It's not going to kill Indonesian soldiers because they're Muslim. Okay. I'm like, are you serious? And now they can see, like, they're killing their own childhood friends. You know, when you see in Gaza, when you see Hamas executing people in the streets, Gaza is such a small place. You think these are just different tribes and different fractions killing each other? They are, but these people know each other. This is such a small area. These people grew up with each other. Forget your fellow Arab or your fellow Muslim. They're killing childhood friends, people that they grew up with. You think these people will not kill Egyptian soldiers? You think these people will not kill Indonesian soldiers? They would be more than happy to kill anybody that stands in their way. In fact, they would be willing to kill them even more sometimes because they see them as munafiqeen or betrayers of their cause.
Of Gaza, that is the goal. And again, I think we need to see more diplomatic pressure from other actors, not just Israel, not just the United States, the Arabs, the Europeans, folks out in Central Asia, Africa, East Asia. They ought to be weighing in. They ought to be making.
By the way, guys, I'm going to make a community very soon for us to join. Look at the chat. I know the chat, there's so many anti-Israelis and anti-Jews in the chat, but just engage with them for the sake of practicing. But I'm going to make a free community very soon where we could go and we will have calls, like where everybody, it's like a Zoom call, and we will all be talking to each other about all of this stuff pretty soon, okay? So just look out for that. I'm going to announce it in one of the shows. so we could all hang out and chill together and talk about all of these. And it's not just me talking to you, we will be all talking together.
Israel, not just the United States, the Arabs, the Europeans, folks out in Central Asia, Africa, East Asia, they ought to be weighing in. They ought to be making it. This, by the way, should have happened on October 8th of 2023. They all should have said, Hamas, there is no room for you in the Middle East any longer. But certainly after 2 years of war, it's time to have their voices heard. I'm just not seeing it right now. That concerns me. And that's what could lead us down the path of either chaos or more Hamas rule. Neither one of those is a good option.
When we talk about the 18 hostages, their bodies that have not been returned at this point, we know that it was part of the deal that they be returned. And President Trump did mention that on Truth Social the day that essentially Hamas didn't return them all as the ceasefire went into effect. Is it possible, does it appear to be the case that they really do not know where those remains are?
It's unlikely, but possible.
Okay, guys, the main violation is that they're still trying to gain control over Gaza, and they're not disarming. Okay, so they could just be like, "Hey, we're trying to find the other hostages, we can't find them." I mean, they could keep saying that. That's not the main point. You should be focusing on.
I mean, let me just say this: that the Hamas hostages or the Israeli hostages, rather, in Hamas hands, that's their most valued asset. They have nothing more valuable than that because that is their leverage with Israel and the international community. So it's possible that there are hostages below the rubble that they can't get to. It's possible that there are a handful that maybe people lost the sort of chain of custody as top Hamas commanders were killed and people lost the sense of where these people were being held. But the vast majority of them, I don't think that 18 of these slain hostages have been lost. I think it's possible that maybe 2 or 3 that they don't know the whereabouts, or it's going to be hard to find them underneath the rubble. But I am not buying it from Hamas right now that they just don't know. I think they're buying for time. They're trying to strengthen their own hand, trying to figure out whether they're going to be able to get away with slow rolling everybody, with delaying all of this. I think that is what they're trying to do because it's in their interest, Josh. You got to remember, again, this is a terrorist organization. It's been around since 1988. No one within this organization, thinned out as it is, defeated as it is, nobody wants to just lay down their arms and say, okay, well, it's been real, guys. We're really happy here. We've had a good run. Now we're just going to pull ourselves apart, drop our weapons, and go quietly into the night. That does not sound like a brutal terrorist organization.
Then why are you talking about the peace? Okay, if that's true, then that means that the peace deal is dead on arrival. Then why are you what the fuck then? Then just go fuck them up then, like if you already know that. Hold on, we got a super chat. Spooky Shana saying they probably don't want to disarm because they know the other tribes will get to them before the IDF could. Exactly, Shana. Exactly. I mean, there's 2 reasons. First of all, because they're so much ideologically brainwashed, so they would never want to become something else. They would want to keep fighting until they die. But even if they become, even all of a sudden, we're like, oh my God, guys, let's just abandon our jihadi ways. Even if that happened, they can't, because if they disarm, then this other groups will come and fuck them up. So they can't do that. That's what I have been saying.
Organization that sounds like a company in America that's gone bankrupt, and they know what the rules are, and they just need to okay, guys, we understand the rules. That's not what's going to happen here. As long as Hamas has a say, they're going to try to remain in power. They're going to try to remain armed, and they're going to try to keep fighting because that's their ideology. So again, we need to see more pressure, whether it's military, political, diplomatic. We need to see the world start to squeeze Hamas, not just Israel with bombs, not just Donald Trump with words. There needs to be a groundswell of support for the end of the war. It needs to be supported worldwide.
My last question for you, you touched on this off the top, but how has Hamas changed over the past 2 years since October 7th of 2023 there? How have they changed? It appears that their leaders are all gone overall. So how have we seen that shift happen?
Yeah, I mean, they've been absolutely eviscerated. I don't think there's any other word for it.
Who did that? Who did that? Israel did that. And this is why Trump and Kushner and everybody else should not be blaming Israel. Do you guys think that Israel would be releasing all their last remaining living hostages if the IDF wasn't so successful in beating these people up and destroying their main leaders? Like, if they weren't desperate enough to do this? So, and again, Israelis who say, thank you, Trump, and then when they mention Netanyahu, they boo. Do you understand that if all of this didn't happen, they wouldn't be giving up their only last remaining leverage?
All of the top leaders in Gaza are gone. Okay. Almost all of the top commanders are gone. There were something like 35,000 fighters when this war started, many of them highly trained in places like Iran and Turkey. Most of them are gone too. There's somewhere between 2,000 and 7,000 fighters left, most of whom have been recently recruited, young men in tracksuits that probably had never even picked up an RPG or a Kalashnikov before the war began. So they're not trained, they're not ready to fight long term, and they're certainly not going to win against the most sophisticated army in the Middle East. So this is an organization that is destroyed internally.
They don't need to win. They just need to be continual. They just need to keep being ideologically driven, and in their minds they are winning. They're winning. Guys, let me tell you something, okay? If you have the combination of Islam and poverty, okay, you will continue to have this level of terroristic behavior, right? So you need both. You need both Islam and poverty. One will not get you to this level of insanity and radicalism without the other. Both are needed. If you have poverty without Islam, you're not going to see, like, I don't know, this level of radicalism. You're not. Just poverty by itself, okay? And if you have Islam, you know, you're going to have some retarded takes, but you're not going to have this level of radicalism that you see in Gaza. Okay, you might, if a place that is Islamic becomes prosperous enough, you become, at some point, if you get like the UAE, or I don't know, like Malaysia or even Saudi Arabia. At some point, we're like, okay, we're making too much money. Let's not ruin this. You know, fuck heaven. Let's just focus on this world, right? When your country becomes prosperous enough, then people, you know, I'm not talking about the heads, because obviously, like, Hamas leaders are rich themselves, but for you to be able to spread this much craziness, you need a population that is both Islamic and poor, right? And that's when you get high levels of terrorism. And then when you get this level of terrorism and war brings poverty. So the poverty mixed with Islam brings you terrorism, and the terrorism brings instability, and the instability brings you poverty. So it turns into a cycle, right? So the only way, like, that's, if you understand this, you will be able to understand what's going on and what is the solution better than most of these analysts everywhere else, okay? So as long as you have a combination of poverty and Islam in an area, you cannot, no amount of negotiation, no amount of peace deals, no amount of, you know, trying to educate people and make them aware or convincing is going to make people change their mind, okay? By the way, if you look in Pakistan, it's actually really bad, because we have a third element. We have Islam, poverty, and inbreeding, right? And that's making Pakistan fucked up beyond most Islamic places, right? So yeah, that Pakistan is something that we need to talk about at some point as well, right? So, but then if you understand this, then what is the solution? The solution is to end this cycle. End this cycle, and you need to remove poverty, but as long as you have terrorism, poverty will remain in that area. So Israel basically realized this at some point, that, okay, if we want to de-radicalize Gaza, we need to increase economic activity. So how about we give the Gazans work visas, and then we bring them to Israel and give them jobs, and they take that money into Gaza, and that will increase economic activity in Gaza, and hopefully that will de-radicalize them. That seemed like a good idea because they understood that the poverty in Gaza is also what's feeding into the radicalism, right? The problem is that even if you inject money into an area, if they already have terrorism, because of the instability, that is not going to work. Before you invest into an area and you try to make it economically prosperous, you need to go in and remove the tumor that is the terrorism, and then you try that. So if you're basically increasing economic activity in an area, trying to de-radicalize the people, if the terrorist elements have a huge control over the area, you're not actually de-radicalizing them. What you're doing is you're funding the terrorist activities indirectly. So investing into Gaza and making it economically prosperous should eventually be the goal, but that's the more immediate goal, is to eliminate every single terroristic group there before you try that plan. That's the only way to get eventually Gaza prosperous enough for it to become de-radicalized. And this is something that's not going to happen with the already living people in Gaza. This is something that's going to maybe happen with their grandchildren or their like the Gazans that haven't been born yet. And also, all of this could only happen if Gaza is part of Israel. If you let go of Gaza, it will just snap back into this fact. It will do a factory reset as soon as you leave the area. So this is the way. I'm telling you, there is no other way.
There are political figures abroad in places like Qatar and Turkey and Iran. These are all countries that should not be hosting Hamas. Let's just be clear about this. But they are still there. But even there, I got to say, there's maybe about 8 or 10 figures that I can still recognize. And I've been studying this group since the 1990s. It is not what it was. It is a shadow of itself. It is not able to win in the traditional sense. They don't have rockets anymore. They don't have the...
Guys, the problem is not just Hamas. The problem is is Gaza itself. Okay, so we need to remove Hamas out of the way so we could go fix Gaza. This is like that area just creates terrorism. If you get rid of Hamas, tomorrow it's going to be Hamas 2.0. It's going to be Islamic Jihad. It's going to be that other group. What is it? Dogmash? That group. Yes. It's going to be some other group. So this is not just a Hamas problem. This is a Gaza problem.
The ability to...
I mean, guys, like you got rid of the PLO and the Pan-Arabists, and then Hamas came into power. So what do you think is going to happen when you get rid of Hamas? Something else is going to come take over, and they might even be worse than Hamas. The solution is to just stay there and govern the area.
Breach the fence and to attack Israel. They are defeated. They are just not willing to admit defeat because they believe, as I said, that just their continued existence is evidence of victory, at least for them and their adherents. That's their strategy now. We need to disabuse them that this is a strategy that is viable. And again, all of that tracks back to Israel, the United States, of course, but the Arab world and the rest of the international community that has been calling for a ceasefire. They've been blaming Israel for years. I mean, for 2 years now, they've been blaming Israel for the continuation of the war. Israel has stopped fighting, right? The United States has come in. They've brokered this. The United States has leveraged all of the political will that it was able to accumulate. They're leaning on Israel.
The political power that was accumulated was gathered by IDF's military strength.
Israel to not fight. Now, who's going to lean on Hamas to get them to wave the white flag? They made a huge mistake. It led to their evisceration. It led to their defeat. They cannot hang on any longer if Gaza is ever to be on a different path. And I think that's the crossroads where we sit right now.
All right, Jonathan Schanzer, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. Anything else that you want to add? Anything we missed here before I let you go?
Look, I'll just note that the Ceasefire Now crowd in the United States, in Europe, around the world, online, pretty quiet right now as Hamas kills women and children in the streets, as they kill innocent Palestinians who are just looking for a different future. I think that this hypocrisy is just glaring right now. I'm not here for social commentary, but I have to.
So Torah is saying almost all the anti-Zionist leftist chat. Thank God. Torah, I noticed that they come in waves. So like it's like they're not here, and then all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of a wave of Jew haters just hits the chat. Okay, and then they go, and that wave goes away. They come in, they're like, oh my God, and they say a whole bunch of shit, retarded shit, and then they leave, and then it gets quiet here, and the next wave of anti-Jews just show up together. So I don't know why they come and they leave in waves. It's actually quite interesting. But also, Torah, you're in the chat. You were saying, why does Armin want these low IQ pro pallies in the chat? I can't understand. Well, but two reasons. First of all, it's funny how stupid they are. Two, it's educational to see that they exist, because you guys need to see the level of Jew hatred and anti-Israeli insanity that is out there in the world. You guys need to, because guys, before October 7th, I had a problem with so many of my Jewish friends, because so many of my Jewish friends were saying, like, thought that I'm exaggerating. Me as a non-Jew, they thought, my Western Jewish friends thought that when I say, like, guys, anti-Semitism is so widespread, is all over the place, and like they were like, what are you talking about? Where? Like, you're exaggerating. It's not like we don't see it. I'm like, guys, trust me, it's there. Okay, it's just waiting for its time. And they some of them actually contacted me, and they're like, oh my God, Armin, how the fuck did you know this, right? And the reason why I want them in the chat here, because I want you guys to see this fucking evil in the eye. Okay, I want you to see them. I want you to know them. I want you to listen to how they talk. I want you to understand how retarded they are. Okay, because this is what we're dealing with, and we need to know our enemy. And I want you guys to be educated by their presence. And I also want you to grow a thicker skin, because this is the world now. Okay, you have to learn to deal with these fuckers.
Say that as long as they are.
Well, hold on. Let me see. Torah is saying, Armin, we come here to learn and we get stupid shit in chat. No, okay. First of all, everything we're saying together, they're not stopping it. You hear me, I hear you. Also, they're actually part of the education. Their stupid comments is part of your education. When you see them and you learn what they're saying, this is important for you to see. And we notice, for example, we also notice a lot of new, every time there's a new way of attacking Israel, you can see they all repeat that. For example, you can see 1 week they're all coming here and saying 7,000. And the next week they come and they're all repeating another bullshit. And that's very good for us to see. So what's this week? What is this week's tactic against Israel? And when we see something, and then we see that somebody said something against Israel, and then we see it reflected in the comments in the chat, for us, that's very educational. Like, oh, look, somebody said something against Israel, and all of these people are now repeating that like parrots, right? So I think all of this is also part of the education. But I understand that you guys want an environment where we go and talk about these topics together without all of this lunacy in the chat. And I'm telling you, I'm creating that for you. I am creating a community where we will sometimes go after the show, and we will all be there, and we will all talk with each other. And none of these motherfuckers will be there. So I'm making that for you guys.
Out there for social commentary, but I have to say that as long as they are out there silent while this murdering goes on in Gaza, we're not going to see that change. Again, it's that political shift that is needed right now in order for Hamas to understand that its days are numbered, that its run is over, and that we need to have a different future. That's the hope here right now. And I'm waiting for that shift. I'm not holding my breath, but that is what's needed here to get Gaza to a different place and to potentially start to imagine a different future.
All right. Jonathan Schanzer at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and discussing all of this further. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And I do want to take you to this post right here coming in from the Israel Defense Forces. They have been updating all throughout the war itself, and they posted this photo right here. They say the IDF representatives informed the family of Eliyahu Margalit that he has been brought back for burial. According to the information and intelligence available to the IDF, Eliyahu Margalit, 75 years old, was murdered by the Hamas terrorist organization on October 7th of 2023. His body taken into Gaza. Eliyahu was abducted from the horse stables in Kibbutz Naraz. His death pronounced on December 1st of 2023. He leaves behind his wife, 3 children, and grandchildren. His daughter was also abducted and returned as part of the hostage release agreement back in November 2023. The IDF expresses deep condolences to the family and continues to make every effort to return all of the deceased hostages to their families for a proper and dignified burial. Hamas is required to fulfill its part of the agreement and make the necessary efforts and return all of the hostages to their families and to a dignified burial. Again, that is a post here coming in from the Israel Defense Forces.
Okay, let's actually see, because they're saying we went back to the ceasefire apparently, which is weird because Hamas keeps violating it and we go back to the ceasefire. So basically we're signaling to, is this not a signal to Hamas that they could do whatever they want? Let's actually see the details here.
Begin this morning with the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. It is fragile this morning after weekend clashes.
How is it fragile? How is it not over completely? Like, what does Hamas have to do to say that there is no more ceasefire? Like, guys, we're teaching Hamas, we're training Hamas that we're tolerant of them basically doing whatever the fuck they want. We're signaling weakness to Hamas.
And Hamas. It is fragile this morning after weekend clashes. Israeli forces launched a wave of deadly strikes on Gaza after it says Hamas militants killed 2 soldiers. At least
2 IDF soldiers died. 2 IDF soldiers were killed by Hamas after they were supposed to stop fighting. And we're still talking about a fragile ceasefire. Israeli soldiers were killed by Hamas during the ceasefire. There shouldn't be any more ceasefire.
One crossing has been reopened after multiple routes were closed, but that doesn't mean aid is actually flowing. CBS News foreign correspondent Remi Inocencio joins us from our London bureau with more on all of this. Good Monday morning to you, Remi. So is the ceasefire holding at this hour?
Errol, yes, good morning to you, too. Well, Gaza's skies are quiet and they are clear of those Israeli military jets and the bombs that we heard over the weekend. But on the ground, it is a different story. The IDF this morning said that its troops did open fire, not in one instance, but in 2 instances. This is in eastern Gaza City, on what it said were several terrorists who crossed that yellow line and then approached them. And this is that line that Israel's military agreed to pull back to in President Trump's 20-point peace plan that gives them roughly a little bit more than half control of the Strip. So we would again be seeing a test of whether this ceasefire can actually hold. There were no reports of anyone injured or killed in those incidents. But up until this point, Sunday night, both Israel and the United States said the ceasefire had resumed after that violence over the weekend.
Okay. The ceasefire has resumed. So Hamas, they're signaling to you to just go ahead. You want to go and kill some other IDF soldiers? The cost is not the end of the ceasefire. The cost is that we will shoot some missiles at you and then we will go back to the ceasefire. Is this not a permission to Hamas to kill IDF soldiers, even though we have a ceasefire?
President Trump played down that attack by Hamas, saying that maybe the leadership isn't involved, and we understand.
So, guys, IDF was based on the terms of the phase one. The IDF was not required to leave Gaza. Based on the terms in phase one, the IDF just needed to go behind the yellow line. And behind the yellow line, Hamas is shooting at them where they are in that behind the yellow line, so Israel has not violated the term. Hamas did. Oh, we got a super chat. Thank you so much. Let's see. Pineapple Water, love the username, saying, Armin, the woke left in America are the same morons that believe the pro-Palestinian BS. It's all talking points they repeat. It's all talking points they repeat it over and over like puppets. Yep, I know. And guys, in the group that the community that I'm going to build for us, we're going to have 3 different ways of looking at everything, right? We're going to be talking, the community that I'm going to build where we all go talk together, and it's not going to just be me talking. You guys will be able to talk as well. We're going to be focusing on promoting liberty and fighting her enemies, which are mostly Islam and leftists, right? So we're going to be promoting, we're going to basically talk about the world, the news with this mindset. We are for liberty, anti-Islam, and anti-leftism, which are the 2 main enemies of liberty. So that's what the community is going to be about. And it's going to be free, okay? So that would be something that's coming up soon.
Down that attack by Hamas.
Thank you for the super chat, by the way.
Saying that maybe the leadership isn't involved, and we understand that there are many, many cells that operate independently in the Strip. And he said that he doesn't want his progress really derailed. Of course, we're looking ahead to Steve Witkoff, Special Envoy, and Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, landing in Israel today to talk about Phase 2. Focus is there. Future of Gaza, Hamas demilitarization, and international security force, and of course, further ahead, Gaza governance.
And the ceasefire, Remy, was meant to create enough space so that aid could get to the people of Gaza. How much aid has actually been getting in?
Well, in short, still hardly enough from what we're seeing here, Errol. Yesterday,
the aid is getting to Hamas, guys. Now that Israel was trying to get aid through another way to the people of Gaza, through the Gazan Humanitarian Foundation, so it doesn't get to Hamas. But now that they're opening because of this new deal, the aid is now going to go back into Gaza through the UN trucks. That means that more funding, more support for Hamas, basically, because goes straight to Hamas.
Today, Israel's military said that deliveries would restart on Monday. That is today, of course. And we're still waiting to see if that happens. It's about 2 p.m. local time in Israel right now. The AFP news agency says that Israel will not just reopen 1, but 2 crossings, in fact. One would be the Kerem Shalom crossing. We've been there before. This is in the far southeast of the Strip. The other would be
the crossing that Hamas bombed, attacked with rockets while Israel was getting aids through. And Hamas killed IDF soldiers at this crossing, the Kerem Shalom crossing, while they were getting aids inside Gaza.
In central Gaza, known as Ceasefire. These are crossings from Israel into Gaza pretty much directly.
So Green Nick is saying Armin is a left-leaning libertarian. Well, I mean, when it comes to economic issues, I'm very right-leaning. When it comes to social issues, I am center-left on social issues. Okay?
Which means Israel. These are crossings from Israel into Gaza pretty much directly, which means Israel can monitor what goes in, basically so no weapons can go in, for example. But the UN's humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, we're seeing is in Gaza now. He's seeing that devastation, and he is saying that roads are being cleared, trucks being able to drive through to get aid that is still so urgently needed.
All right, Remy Inocencio with the latest. Remy, thank you. And as Ramy just mentioned, President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are expected in Israel today. The pair just sat down with 60 Minutes about how the Gaza ceasefire came together and their message to Israel moving forward, as well as its leader, Benjamin Netanyahu.
I don't feel that way. And I thought he steered.
Wait, what was the question?
Came together and their message to Israel moving forward, as well as its leader, Benjamin Netanyahu.
I don't feel that way. And I thought he steered his country through some really difficult circumstances.
People think.
Okay, so Jared Kushner was saying that Israel betrayed America. Apparently, Witkoff doesn't feel like it's interesting because Witkoff, I think he's less experienced, but he has the better position here.
That he prolonged the incarceration of the hostages for his own political future.
I don't think that's the case.
Okay, thank you, Witkoff. He finally has a position that I like. I'm liking Witkoff supporting Netanyahu, even though he saw Israelis in Tel Aviv booing Netanyahu. I appreciate Witkoff standing by Netanyahu and supporting him. That's good. That's a good thing that Witkoff is doing.
The biggest message that we've tried to convey to the Israeli leadership now is that now that the war is over, if you want to integrate Israel with the broader Middle East, you have to find a way.
Okay, you shouldn't be lecturing Israel what to do, okay? Israel, hey, Kushner, you're a kid, okay? You're a little kid. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about. Do you know who understands the Middle East better than you? Israel understands. This is not your neighborhood. You don't understand this area, okay? If Trump did the Abrahamic Accord, it was through Israel's might that was made possible, okay? So don't come around our neighborhood in the Middle East and tell us that if you want this in the Middle East, this is what you have to do, okay? You should be asking Israelis to lecture you, and you should be taking notes, okay? So don't come and, when you have an ally that has done so much for you, when you talk to them, you just ask them what you could do for them. You don't demand things.
To help the Palestinian people thrive and do better.
How are you doing with that message?
We're just getting started.
And you can stream more of Leslie's interview with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner by looking for 60 Minutes on the CBS News app or on Paramount Plus.
Hey, maybe we should do that. Guys, what do you guys think? We should do the 60-minute interview with Kushner and Witkoff. We should cover that. I think that would be insightful. What do you guys think? Yeah, the audacity, right? I know, right? Green neck. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I will have an announcement for our community very soon. So subscribe, because I'm going to announce that. It's going to be good. You're going to have a community where we get together and we just talk about news and politics and promoting liberty around the world. And we just talk about liberal values. Guys, when we say liberal, we're not talking about leftists, okay? We're talking about classical liberal values, okay? Classical liberal values. We're not talking about leftists, okay? Don't get scared when we say liberal, right? So we're going to be talking about understanding liberal values and promoting them. Basically, classical liberal values are about liberty. It's about freedom, right? It's not leftist because it's also about limiting the government. Leftists are not about limiting the government, right? And we're going to also talk about the enemies of liberty, and we're going to look at the whole world politics and news through that lens, right? So that's what the community is going to be about. And yes, liberal conservatives, liberal right-leaning liberal people, left-leaning liberal people, conservatives, progressive liberal people. I mean, guys, when I say progressive, I'm not talking about the way it's being used in America, okay? It's interesting because Americans use these words in a way that when you use them, people might get, if you're American, you might get a different, when I say Republican in Iran, it means something else than in America. When I say progressive means something as a whole politically, but in America, it's talking about far leftists, right? But it doesn't really, the word itself doesn't necessarily have to mean far left. Anyways, I'm not. These are the type of stuff that we're going to be nerding over politics and the news in this community, and we're going to be doing that together. Like people will you get a chance to open your mic and talk, and the rest of people will listen. It's going to be fun. Okay, so if you're interested, subscribe because I'm going to announce it soon. Okay, and make sure you like the stream. Make sure is there a hype option? Because I turned on the hype option for this channel. I don't let me know if you guys see the hype option for our videos. And what else? Yeah, recommend the channel. Recommend Atheist Republic to your friends, to your enemies, to your pets, anything that could subscribe. All right, guys, I'm gonna head out. This was fun. I enjoyed chit-chatting with you guys. Oh, we got a super chat. Okay, let's do the super chat. Neil Bunny said, Armin, I posted in the community. Go see. Oh, wow. Great job, guys. We also have the community option on our channel is also on. So you guys could go comment in the community section. If you're a retarded Jew hater, go and tell us why we're wrong. The community section is now open to you guys as well. You could go post your bullshit there and see if other people will respond to you. You could expose this channel in the community section if you want. Okay. Thank you, Neil Bunny, for testing the community section of our channel. That's a new feature that YouTube has. So go check it out. And also somebody else is saying, Armin, hold on, where is that? Where's that comment? I love this comment. Somebody saying, Armin, you're Mossad. I don't know if you're trying to attack me with that, but that's such an honor that you think that if you think that my work is so good that makes me worthy of being part of Mossad, it's absolutely such an honor to hear that. I don't know if you try to say that to attack me, but I feel very proud of myself when you say that. So yeah, I hope I'm good enough for Mossad. Okay, no, Armin is Shin Bet. Yeah, maybe. Okay, guys, I'm gonna head out. Thank you. Every time I want to leave, it's hard for me to leave because I like to hang around with you guys. That's why I'm making the community, because every time I want to leave, you guys are in the chat. I want to just hang around and chit chat with you guys. So we're gonna make a community so we can chit chat around there. Okay, that's my solution to this problem. All right, guys, I'm gonna head out. Bye. Mwah.